57.4 million in funding that was received from the federal government of the Republic of Germany. What was that for?
So that is primarily to deal with capacitating the NPA to fight corruption. And to say that, it wasn't money that the NPA received, but we received services that helps us to capacitate the NPA.
Okay, and who conceptualized the project?
It was conceptualized in the NPA.
Okay.
Of course, with the government of Germany.
Okay. Did the NPA approach the Hans Siedel, is it Hans Siedel Foundation? Because this is the NGO that the funding was channeled through, am I correct?
We worked with the government of Germany, and the government of Germany decided on the partner that will implement in South Africa.
Do you know why they chose the Hans Siedel Foundation?
I have no idea.
You didn't ask?
No, it was the German government. They were giving us the sponsorship, the assistance. And I assumed that as a government, they would do the responsible thing.
Okay. Do you know that the Hans Siedel, but as part of our government, don't you think you should also do the responsible thing and find out what was the story behind the Hans Siedel Foundation? Because do you know that they also collaborate with News 24?
I'm not aware of that.
And that it collaborates with the Institution of Security Studies that is chaired by a Jackie Salas, who goes around calling for prosecution of members of parliament and engages political discourse.
I didn't know that either, but I'm not sure how that becomes a challenge. It would be good to understand.
So you don't see how private funding can risk the capture of institution, of any institution for that matter, yet alone institutions like our criminal justice system. I mean, we also had our previous Concord Mogoeng, who refused to take private funding as well because of the sacredness of these institutions that we have. And why do you feel differently?
So let me say that with regard to and it's not private funding. We are not getting funds, but we have engaged in innovative partnerships with the private sector to ensure that we get the skills and capacities that we need to assist us in the fight against corruption. The reason why we think this is not problematic is that we put safeguards in place to make sure that we distance ourselves from the funding as such, but also to be clear that this is in line with international good practice. The UN Convention Against Corruption specifically states that it's important for government to actually partner with the private sector in their fight against corruption. So this is an international good practice, and we have engaged in a very strategic way with relevant partners to ensure that we get the capacities, capabilities in the NPA, which in a very financially and fiscally constrained environment, we do not have. So this was actually a bilateral meetings that we had with the government of Germany and the South African government. I understand even ministers been involved. And so we put in place the safeguards to get the assistance to train and capacitate, really bespoke training for prosecutors and investigators in the fight against corruption.
So, Advocate, are you alive to the facts on how foreign governments capture countries? And it starts off, sometimes it's not always in the form of money, but exactly that, it's training. They're training prosecutors of our country. So the issue of being trained, being captured by another government, being in such close proximity, you don't see, leave the UN out. I mean, the UN cannot be our standard, and if we look at other issues on how they handle matters in the country. Let's talk about what we need here in the country. We've come out of a country that's both been colonized and through the apartheid. We need to stand on our own feet, and we need to manage. The fact that you even say, Advocate, that you didn't see any need to investigate this organization because you figured that Germany would do the right thing is problematic.
Honourable Member, I can understand the concern that you could have countries that would try to, in some way, influence things in another country. That's, of course, it's possible. But in this case, we control, it's not like the German government or the implementing partner that they chose are the ones that decide on what training we get. The training has been, the manuals have been developed completely by South African experts and prosecutors that sat together for days to develop a complete training manual drawing on our expertise. So it's completely something that's in-house. It is something that we control all aspects of with regard to the training. We even train, we get experts here. It's just the support in terms of getting
It's money, though.
the fund. I understand that it is money, but it's different where people would go to another country and get training that we have no control over. Here we have complete control over what is happening. We want to ensure that our prosecutors have the necessary capacities, and because of the fact that we are in a fiscally constrained environment, we've been innovative in trying to deal with these gaps to ensure that we can fight this fight properly.
You also said we don't need any more money, and here we are getting 57.7 million from another foundation that you didn't do any due diligence on. And to even go as far as your disclaimer saying we do our own training, we do our own manuals, etc. here, but you've just said, Advocate, that you don't know anything. You didn't even know that it's linked to this Jackie Sellis. You don't know about the Institution of Security Studies that he chairs, and that's problematic.
Thank you. Honourable Member, there's some things about what you said that I know about and other things that I don't know about. So the initial links that you mentioned, yes, I don't know anything about that. But what I do know about is the way we've been working with the government of Germany to ensure that we are able to get the training that we want. And there's other, there are other governments that are supporting other entities in South Africa with things like training. For example, the French government is in a partnership with the SIU to provide training for them. And so I agree, we need to have safeguards to ensure, for example, the things we have put in place. And, my understanding is that the Hans Seidel Foundation has, for decades worked with the German government as a trusted partner. So, I think it's important to understand that their role is an implementing partner for the German government. But we have really, I want to urge, we put in place controls to make sure that we control what happens, and it's not like getting training that's decided on by another government.
And then perhaps, Advocate, if we did more to end corruption, we wouldn't have to be begging with Germany and France and other countries to partner with to do very basic services we're supposed to offer our citizens. It's actually shameful, because I don't think any of those countries take any funding from South Africa to do any services over there. And these are just the bare basic services that we're supposed to offer our country, and we are taking funding from foreign governments to do it. It's quite disgraceful.
If I might respond to that, please, Honourable Member. Two things. I think in the first instance, I agree with you completely that if we could deal with corruption more effectively in this country, it's not just about taking money from other countries to fight corruption. Africa is almost the beggars of the West when it comes to aid and funding. It should never be the case. Africa is a rich continent. We have enough to pay for everything we need. But we become beggars to the rest of the world because of corruption in our countries. And I agree with you completely. If we're able to deal with corruption, we don't need money from anyone in the world. We'll be able to fund all of this. And just to clarify the point I made about the budget, we have for this, as I said, we have funding for budget for this year, but for the outer years, we are going to need a substantial increase in our budget. Okay. Thank you.